I was today years old when I found out that Nick Shirley is a Mormon and also his mommy is his handler. I mean, he's also a propagandist and a fraudster and a liar, and his entire story about Somali daycares is a bunch of bullshit, but I didn't just figure that out yesterday. I understand that the right-wing media ecosystem is just like frothing at the mouth over Nick Shirley's story, but it's absolute, complete, fabricated bullshit. I also understand that the right-wing media ecosystem has no interest in getting at truth and has no journalistic integrity. I also understand that MAGA has no interest in the truth. I also understand that MAGA politicians are funding and pushing this narrative for their own political ends. Right. Let's think about how much this is trying to set up Republicans for the gubernatorial race in 2026 in Minnesota. Let's think about all of the ways that Donald Trump and Pam Bondi are utilizing this story to distract from the Epstein files, the 5.2 million documents, the fact that they're slow rolling the release of those documents, how damning those documents are for so many powerful, wealthy people, the bullshit redaction of information that we should have access to. Yeah. Let's not forget that this is all everything the regime is pushing to the forefront of the news cycle is always going to have a component of trying to distract you from the Epstein files. And of course, there's also the way that Stephen Miller and Donald Trump are using this to push their racist, denaturalization, white supremacist agenda in this country. It's no coincidence that this scandal is in the headlines of the right-wing media at the same time that Stephen Miller is pushing a narrative of remigration. Remigration is a straight up white supremacist term. It's a Yahtzee term. It's a form of ethnic cleansing in which all non-white people are deported out of previously Europe, and here Stephen Miller wants it done in the United States. This all ties in with Donald Trump wanting to repeal birthright citizenship, which would be entirely unconstitutional. They are using Somali immigrants and this fabricated story. They're using Nick Shirley in order to push this agenda. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. I'm having to splice together some different clips because TikTok is being frustrating. But you don't have to take my word for it about Nick Shirley at all.
This is ABC Learning Center in Minneapolis.
They have to learn ABC and numbers.
Director Ahmed Hassan gave WCCO a tour after finding his daycare in the national spotlight.
All right, we've arrived to ABC Learning Center.
In a now viral video, right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley claims nearly a dozen daycare centers in Minnesota are taking public funds but not providing a service. He says ABC Learning Center is one of them, knocking on the door in mid-December.
I would like to check a child in the daycare.
Hassan says his employee didn't respond because Shirley was in a group of about 8
Because it's creepy
people, and his
for an
staff
adult
were
man to
concerned
show
about
up and say,
recent
"Let me into your
activity.
daycare
Is
center."
this daycare committing fraud?
No, we're not committing fraud.
Hassan showed us security footage from the same day Shirley was here. According to the timestamps in the videos, this woman takes a young child into the center at around 9 a.m. that day, about 3 hours before Shirley arrives at the door closer to the street. Within the hour after Shirley leaves, a woman arrives at the other door with a stroller. A larger family heads inside a few hours later. Tuesday afternoon, WCCO found at least a dozen children at ABC Learning Center, which is licensed with the state. Records show Minnesota officials last visited the daycare in November, noting some corrected and ongoing violations related to day-to-day operations, but no record of fraud.
What did I do? I'm just a typical human being who wants to live and do the right thing. I have kids to feed.
Umi Hassan, the daycare's current owner, believes these latest fraud accusations are political. Both she and Hassan are Somali Americans.
We pay our taxes. We do whatever we can to be a law-abiding citizen. At the same time, when one Somali does something wrong, we all get collective punishment.
With Shirley's video now approaching 2.3 million views on YouTube alone, they say they are getting non-stop phone calls harassing them.
I was looking for a place for my granddaughter.
With many of those calls attached to out-of-state phone numbers.
They normally say, knock, knock, we're gonna come. You're gonna arrest, something like that.
Nick Shirley is a 23-year-old Mormon from Utah who started out making prank YouTube videos and has pivoted to right-wing politics because that's really lucrative. He calls himself an independent journalist, but anybody these days can call themselves an independent journalist and take all kinds of dark money, all kinds of PAC money, be driven by all kinds of organizations behind the scenes. I've seen other videos where clearly Nick's mommy is his handler. She's clearly there helping direct him and run the show. So I'm not sure who fed Nick this story and this spin and told him how to cover it, but clearly somebody did. None of the allegations that Nick Shirley makes in his video have been substantiated. In fact, he said, "How do I know that the allegations are true? Well, we showed you guys what's happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis." Sounds a lot like Tucker Carlson. I'm just asking questions, guys. I'm just asking questions. I mean, Nick Shirley went to daycare centers when they were closed and then was like, see, there's no daycare happening here. Yeah, because it's after hours when they're not open. And for the daycare centers that he went to that were open, he's like a strange dude rolling up at a secure site where people have their children in a car with no license plate. So no, people are not going to let some rando dude in to do a tour. But again, you don't have to take my word for it.
The one with the masked people and doesn't have a plate.
The surveillance video captures Shirley arriving at the center a little after noon. Hassan says he was only there for a few minutes and that he was accompanied by masked men in a vehicle with no license plates.
I understand when it comes to MAGA Republicans that every accusation is a confession. But think after Charlie Kirk was killed and how Mike Johnson and others were decrying political violence, even though Charlie Kirk's shooter was not on the political left. Nancy Mace and others were making false claims that the shooter was, all to fabricate political violence while pearl clutching and posturing like they were opposed to it. Here, once again, we see this total copium. We see this total projection, right? This claim that they're rooting out fraud when Donald Trump is the biggest fraudster of a president we've ever had. The corruption from this regime is just completely overt. And really, all of this is just a pretext for their racism. It's just a pretext to enact political violence. It's just a pretext to further the ethnic cleansing and the authoritarian agenda of Donald Trump. I found this piece from Minnesota Public Radio particularly powerful, so I will leave you with a clip from that. Really encourage you to go watch the whole thing.
After a video by right-wing content creator Nick Shirley erupted on social media earlier this week, childcare providers in Minneapolis are on edge. One care center says it was vandalized on Monday night. A wall was broken in, and enrollment papers are missing, as well as employee information and checks from their checkbook.
Y'all better leave America, because the government's coming after you.
A leader with the Minnesota Child Care Association says some care providers are getting harassing phone calls, and many are worried about unannounced visitors trying to videotape children. The day after Christmas, Nick Shirley posted his video where he meets with a man who believes there are fraudulent child care centers in Minneapolis. The two of them go to several child care centers run by Somali Minnesotans in an effort to prove this, knocking on doors, and Shirley asked if he can enroll his child.
I would like to check a child in the daycare.
In the video, he claims that child care centers have committed over $100 million in fraud. The centers featured in the video have been part of a state-administered child care program using federal money. Although some recently had operations or payments suspended, none have been accused of fraud by federal prosecutors. The video has ignited a massive response on social media. FBI Director Kash Patel has said he's aware of the video and the FBI is investigating. After the video was released, the Trump administration announced that it is pausing payments for child care assistance grants to Minnesota and that it is demanding an audit of child care centers in the video. The pause is in effect until receipts or photographic evidence are received, and it's reported that the pause will impact 30,000 children. The video paints fraud as an uninvestigated problem across Minnesota, but the conversation around fraud is not new. The state and federal government have been investigating fraud in the state for years. So why now? And how did Shirley get tipped off to come here? Republican House Speaker Lisa Dameth said her caucus steered the content creator to childcare sites in Minnesota. State Rep Niska clarified that staffers in the caucus provided information to the man identified in Shirley's video as David. Dameth is a Republican candidate for governor, and this is an election year. She is running against Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who has repeatedly faced criticism from President Donald Trump and other Republicans about fraud. And fraud has been a big issue for Walz. Over the past 5 years, prosecutors and auditors have detected hundreds of millions of dollars in fraudulent payments to healthcare and nutrition programs that didn't result in services actually being delivered. These include the Feeding Our Future nonprofit, as well as fraud in Medicaid and a program related to autism services. While the government has been aware and has been investigating fraud in Minnesota for years, this amount of social media attention is fairly new, and we expect it to continue.
As I said in the beginning of this video, we have to look at what the motivation is for them pushing this story and all of its fabrications right now. Oh, a Republican candidate for governor running against Tim Walz was willing to sacrifice the child care and well-being of 30,000 children in Minnesota for political hit points. I hope Minnesotans understand that's what she did. She used lies and the lives of 30,000 children because she thinks it will advance her campaign for governor. I'm going to leave it there for now, but I think in the next video, I want to talk about what we do about this kind of misinformation and the way it's used by craven politicians at a state and federal level. Because I anticipate this kind of propaganda will be ramping up intensely as we head into the midterms.